If you feel like you're losing swing speed and therefore distance, you're certainly not alone. And a lot of you are now turning towards equipment and technology to help you fix these problems. But the major problem with this is the marketing that you see does not necessarily align to real world results. And a lot of what you guys believe to be helping you is actually hindering you. Today, I'm going to be taking you through some very specific examples of that to help you avoid these mistakes. I'm also going to be talking you through how we should set up your bag for this particular player profile in terms of transitioning from the irons into the hybrids and fairway woods to make sure everything is sitting exactly where it should be, the gaps are correct, and the ball flights are fully optimized. Now, our last video has done so well, so thank you all so much for watching that. It's our second best ever performing video within the first week. It's done around 90,000 views so far in the first 5-6 days, which is brilliant. But from those 90,000 views, we managed to get around 100 or so subscribers, which is a little bit lower than we would like. So if you did watch the video and you do generally watch our content and enjoy our content, please do me a massive favor, go now and smash that subscribe button. It takes 1 second and is free to do so, and it really will massively help the channel out long term, and it will help me bring you guys more content like this. Thank you. Right, I hope you enjoy it. Let's jump into the video. So in that pursuit of distance, I've gone and I've bought myself some distance irons, some Trixion ZXI 4s. And this 7 iron is 28.5 degrees. So let's see how it performs at a slower speed. That was a really nice strike.
That's a lovely golf shot.
And that was 76 swing speed.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
so that's good. So
Perfect.
obviously trying to nail around that kind of 75-mile-an-hour swing speed. So 76 is fantastic effort, really good. So ball speed from that 76 miler, about 105. Look at that efficiency. I mean, we spoke about this in other videos, haven't we? It's like
It's hot.
slow swing speed, you taking off loft, which is kind of your natural delivery, not massively. The static loft on this is 28.5. You delivered 22.2.
So 6 degrees, isn't it? It's quite a lot.
So I think you've done a pretty good job there, but yeah, those numbers are hot. I mean, you know, 16.9 launch, 4,000 spin. I mean, carrying 150, okay, so you've got that kind of magic 150 distance for 7 iron, but how have you got it? I mean, that's the interesting thing. I mean, the descent angle on that is 38.6.
Yeah, it's quite toasty.
Very toasty, and peak height 65. So, you know, we've mentioned in other videos before, we did a really good video about how far you should hit your 7 iron. You should go and watch that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so peak height, we want to be around that kind of 75 mark if you're swinging around that 75.
Yeah.
So we're 10 feet low, and to be honest, that descent angle is very, very hot.
Yeah. To be honest, my personal preference, every fitter will be slightly different. I'd like to get it slightly above swing speed if you can.
Yeah.
So if someone is like 75, 76, I'm like, can we get to 80?
Yeah.
Low 80s maybe, like really.
It's almost the minimum, isn't it, really? It's kind of where you want that. That's a lovely strike.
Yeah, that was 74.9. That was. So that's again a really good one to look at with a perfect delivery as well. I mean, so 3 into out, 1.5 closed. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Great strike, great on speed. Again, that efficiency is just so hard. So, launching 17 is probably a bit on the low side, really, at speed. We'd probably want to be closer to that kind of 19 to 21, probably. And then, yeah, spinning a bit low, isn't it, at 4,000?
Yeah, what was the peak height on that? So 17 launch, 4 spin, peaked at 65, 39, 65. So that's 2 now. I've had it 65, which is really, really good strikes, really good shots. It's just very low, very toasty, very hot. Now let's see how that compares with the ZXI 5 at 31 degrees. That was really nice.
That sounded lovely.
That was 75.7.
Yeah, bang on again.
I mean, not far off the carry, was it? I mean, what was it, like 150-ish with the 4?
Yeah, 150 with the 4, 147 with the 5. So yeah, good delivery. In terms of speed, it's in and around the same as where we were. That efficiency is still up there, isn't it? 1.37. I mean,
come down to bayonet, which you'd expect, because if you look at the dynamic loft, we've gone from what, around 22 to 24, and this is about 2.5 more degrees, so you'd expect to see the dynamic loft come up, so that's better.
Exactly that. So launch has come up a little bit, spin has come up a little bit. And yeah, and obviously carry-wise, we're really not seeing a huge difference, but maybe that ball flight is getting a little bit more functional. I mean, we're up now at 41.5 descent, 71 feet. I mean, it's still hot, still too hot.
But it's better. It is better.
But it's better. But it's better.
Yeah.
That sounded lovely.
Yeah, it was a good shot.
Yeah? How's the speed?
77, so a
Okay.
little quicker, little
Yeah, a
quicker.
little quicker, but not too bad.
Again, even like 2 mile an hour really is within human variance, isn't
Oh.
it? So this is something else that makes it hard to see sometimes. Like
100%.
that jump back up to 150 and the ball flight again, similar launch and spin, probably a good peak height. Probably 70, like low to mid 70s, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, 75.
Yeah, 75, 42 and a half. It's certainly climbing up towards a much more functional level, isn't it? It's more where we'd want it to be, but it's still hot. And I think at this speed, carrying 150, I mean, you know, we talk about how distance is created a lot, you know, when we chat about our fittings and stuff. And, you know, are you creating distance in the right way?
Yeah.
You know, creating these hot flights, is that really how you want to create that distance? With an iron where you're trying to hit a number? Probably not.
No, no. And finally, let's compare it to the Strixon Z Forge 2 at 33 degrees.
That was a bit more up the face.
That was, yeah, that was quite a good strike.
Yeah, what was the speed like?
76.4.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's not bad.
That's close to where we were with the averages of the ZXi5 and the ZXi4, to be fair.
Yeah,
very close. Again, that launch now, you can see that come up to 20. That spin up over 5,000. Just, yeah, numbers pretty good. 142 carry. So I think that's kind of where we'd expect it to be, right? In the low 140s with this sort of loft.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on the efficiency earlier. I mean, 134 is kind of where we'd expect a 7.9 to be.
Yeah.
Like 138, 139, 1.4, we had a couple. I mean, that's getting to a point of like, people are like, well, why is that bad things? But well, it's because this iron needs to sit in the right window, right? If you artificially move a 7 iron up to like a 1.4 smash, then you're going to really have gapping issues coming into 6 iron, 5 iron, 4 iron, maybe even into the hybrids, right? So you're just artificially gaining distance and not really benefit from the ball flight perspective, as we'll look on. So you get hotter ball flight, yeah, you get more distance, but the gapping gets thrown out and the whole bag is just not where it needs to be.
Yeah, so 43.3 descent, 75 peak height.
Yeah, it's more acceptable range, isn't it?
Much more acceptable, much more acceptable. I mean, you're kind of, probably at this speed, you're pushing the limit there of where you'd want as a fitter. So you'd definitely be having that question about 6 iron, wouldn't you? Because 6 iron potentially, even though you get a bit more ball speed,
yeah,
which might get you a little bit more. But are we, you know, then we'd really have to sort of have that discussion. How we transition then into the upper end of the bag, right?
Really, I mean, the 6 iron in this is going to be around 29 degrees.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very similar to that ZXi4 flight. It's not going to be far off at all.
Yes.
Right. They talk about head design and CG. It makes a very small difference. All the testing that I've done is loft is king.
Yeah.
Like, so if I got a bladed, I mean, we've got loads of these videos that we've already done on YouTube, so go and find them. But if I got a bladed 6 iron at 29 against that ZXi4 at 29, they would be very similar in terms of ball flight, distance, everything. So we already know that that's way too hot. So you're right. In this scenario, whether it be this or P770, we do loads of those P770s for this kind of player, maybe even at 34 degrees in loft, we'd probably now be going a hybrid, which we'll show in a minute. Okay, so the average data for those irons, let's touch on how they actually performed and stacked up against each other. So ZXi4, we can see at 105 ball speed, 104 ball speed with the ZXi5, and down to 102.3 with the Z Forge 2, as we'd expect. Less loft, giving us less ball speed. Is there sort of head technology and all that stuff playing a little bit of a part there? Yeah, maybe a tiny bit, but probably not as much as you would think. Launch, we can see 16.6 with the ZXi4 to 18.3 with the ZXi5, up to 19.4 with the Z Forge 2. So again, more loft, creating more launch. And at that swing speed, more launch is definitely your friend. Same in the spin category. The ZXi4 down at 4,100 spin on average, 4,852 with the ZXi5, and 5,300 with the Z Forged 2. So again, much better launch and spin coming from the Z Forge, obviously just more traditionally lofted head at this speed, increasing launch, increasing spin, and giving us a better ball flight. That meant that the ZXi4 peaked at 63 feet with a descent angle of 37.8, so a very low peak height with a very shallow land angle, not great for stopping on greens. The ZXi5 went up to 70 feet and a descent angle of 41.2, so better, definitely better, still a bit shallow, not a great land angle that for a 7 iron, to be honest. And then the Z Forged 73 feet, 42.8 descent. So again, that little bit better. Still not quite where we might like it to be, a little bit on the low side, which is why we would talk about maybe stopping at 7 iron and transitioning into hybrids, fairways, etc. So still a little bit on the low side, but it's better. Carry, obviously, we do drop down 149 with the ZXi4, 146 with the ZXi5, and 142 with the blade. But again, probably a lot of you would imagine that the ZXi4 should be giving you a lot more distance than that. Now, bearing in mind that there is a club difference between these two heads in terms of like the loft difference, the 33 degrees with the blade effectively down to 28.5 in the ZXi4. That is a club difference. So it should be a club difference in performance, but it's not. 142 to 149, it's only 7 yards difference. And that's a prime example of really where we would start to see the long irons bunch up at a lower speed. And this is only around the 7 iron, 6 iron range. So really it's not even getting down to the 4 or 5 iron range, and it's already really starting to get a little bit close, because at 28.5 degrees of loft, the launch and spin is coming a bit too low, which is not getting enough carry out of it. So now moving on to the next area, a lot of people would say, yes, but I don't want to play long irons in a Z Forge 2 or a P770 or whatever the case may be. And we would say, yeah, we agree. Stop at the 7. There would be no benefit in going into those longer irons anyway. So now I'm going to be hitting a GT1 6 hybrid to show you how that performs.
That was lovely.
That was really good, yeah. So about 79 swing speed, which we thought was probably going to be about right. There's an argument to say it could even be a little bit hot, this 6 hybrid, to gap up. Because I'd be thinking a 155 carry. We average, what, 142 with the blade. So 155 would be nice, 159 might be a bit much.
I'd be intrigued, because obviously this is following on from 7 iron, right?
Yeah.
So would it make more sense to have a 7 hybrid?
Well, again, you would tweak loft right. I guess the way that I would probably look at this from a fitting perspective would go 26 in this particular head, even the GT1, which is designed to launch and spin. So it's not the longest hybrid out there, but it's a great long iron replacement. You could maybe notch this up to 27 or 28 just to try and drop that back to sort of 155, 156. Or yeah, you could go 7 and turn it down. It would depend on, do we want to turn the loft up and close it slightly, or turn the loft down and open it slightly? For me, I'd probably go 7 hybrid and turn it down. But if someone missed right, you would use this and crank it up.
Yeah, makes sense.
But what's the ball flight on that one?
I think 75 peak height, 41.6 descent with the hybrid. So pretty functional. I mean, you're going to be hitting it from a further distance. So you're going to have to expect, you know, the expectation on stopping power needs to be tempered slightly, I would say. But still pretty functional. And if you compare that to where we were with the ZXi4, on average, we were 37.8 degrees descent angle. So super hot. Spinning at just over 4.1. And peak height 63. So if you're kind of trying to work out how you would transition that set, if you're in the ZXi4, which is a much more functional set at this speed, then yeah, those step ups to the hybrids make sense around that kind of 6 iron, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, we'd be looking at, and I might have a quick hit with a 9 wood as well, just to see what that would do. I think it might be a bit hot, actually, to be fair. It might go a bit long, but that would certainly be a club we would try for this player. Again, the way that I always look at the bag setups is get the most functional ball flights to hit the correct numbers irons wise. And then as soon as we start to think it's probably getting a bit too low, you go straight into the highest lofted hybrids and fairway wood you can to get the most height and figure out what clubs hit the right number with the best flight possible. The player's obviously comfortable with, but that's how I would always work down the most loft, the most height, the most flight, the most spin at this speed to get the best flight with the correct gaps.
Makes perfect sense. That sounded really good.
Well, even there, that was thin, right? And it's a perfect example of why hybrids, again, are so much better for the majority of players.
Yeah.
It's just so much more forgiving.
Yeah, I mean, if you hit that strike with an equivalent iron, if the person was going to play that in the set, like an iron instead, I mean, that's going to be struggling, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that
bit low, bit necky.
That dropped 4 yards. You're probably getting closer to an 8-9 yard drop off of an iron.
Yeah.
Now moving into another option, the GT1 9 wood, loads of loft, launches really well, spins really well, looks great, feels great, very forgiving. So let's show you how that performs. So GT1 9 wood, I think if someone was swinging their 7 iron around 75, this would probably be around 80, 81. I would assume.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, for me, my 7 iron to 3 wood is probably 10-ish mile an hour. It would obviously separate a lot more at my speed. Say 5-6 mile an hour, probably about right.
I think that's really fair, yeah.
Definitely, it just pops up, doesn't it? I mean, that was bang on 80 mile an hour straight away.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, that what, 157? That's good.
So 16 launch, just under 5,000 spin, great strike, great efficiency. Again, you pretty bang on that speed, mate. I think that's exactly where we would be with that 7 iron sort of hovering around 76. But yeah, look at that.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Same as the.
It looked higher, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fairness, I
interesting.
did catch that groove low, which would
Yep.
bring down the flight a tiny bit. So again, I feel like if I struck this perfectly, that's coming up another 5, 6, 7 feet probably.
Yep.
But you're right. I mean, you look at the flight and you look at that, you know, just that compared to what a long iron would be. I mean, this, in my opinion, would not only be infinitely more forgiving, it definitely would give more flight, more spin, more stopping power, more control.
100%. 100%. And that's really where these lofted hybrids, lofted fairway woods are really trying to help.
Yeah.
They're kind of revolutionising the game a little
Yeah.
bit.
100%. They are.
for slower swing
This is
speeds.
the area of the bag that most people need to focus on, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Same yesterday with the guy we had. Really
Yep.
good player. We had in really good player. Wanted to get more distance out of his driver, but we couldn't. But his 4, 5, 6 hybrids were like,
Yeah.
and really hot, really low. I was like, this is where we need to look at. Try and get some hot GT1s. Again, these are so good for long iron replacements. 9 wood, 7 wood, 5 hybrid, 6 hybrid, 7 hybrid. Launch well, spin well. That's where most people, I think, nowadays are going to find a benefit in their bag.
That's close. That's really good, isn't it?
Yeah, it was up the face for sure. Good
Go in the hole. Oh!
I mean, that popped a little bit. I mean, that was one of them high launch, low spin jobbers, wasn't it? Which,
Yeah.
again, we can get from time to time. It would be close. This might be a touch long for that gap. In my mind, I think I would probably be looking at either the 6 or the 7 hybrid tweaked to get the perfect gap. And we saw that the ball flight, I mean, I think this is, 82 foot. That's really good ball flight, isn't it?
It's really good. 42.7 descent, 82 peak height.
I mean, it might average out, it would depend on the person, it might average out around that high 150s, which might be okay, might be a touch long. Again, this is all the things we do in the fitting to really try and narrow down that gap and get it perfect, whether it's the hybrid or one of these tweaked or whatever it may be. But that you can just see straight away from the hybrid and from this, compared to that strong lofted ZXi 4 iron, which would be equivalent to 6 iron, much more functional, much more forgiving, just a much better option. So if we now add in the GT1 hybrid and the GT1 9 wood into that data set, and remember, this is a lot of shots. It's not just a few shots. We're only showing you 1 or 2 just to create a shorter video, but we hit a lot of shots. We always make it an equal, fair data set, take out any that we're swinging faster or anything like that. So it's a fair data and it's lots of data. We can see that they averaged out to be fairly similar from a carry perspective. 156 with the hybrid to 157 with the 9 wood. And I feel either of those could actually create a very good gap from the 7 iron if we were playing a bit more of a traditional sort of 7 iron like the Z Forged, carrying around that sort of low 140s. We'd be looking for a sort of mid 150s. So to be honest, either of those could really work. A little bit of tweaking. You know, I actually don't mind seeing a couple yards more, if anything, because amateur golfers, we're likely to misstrike more than we flush. So, you know, if I wanted an average of 155, a really good hit being 158, 159 probably isn't the end of the world, again, depending on the level of the player, but it just gives you that little bit more leeway for slight miss hits. Whereas as soon as you go into long irons, so many of you out there will have experienced this. As soon as you get that slight miss hit, it's like, well, my 6 iron would have gone 10 yards further than that 5 iron I just hit. It really can start to overlap. So spreading it out, again, having that 7 iron sitting in the correct place to enable you to spread it out that little bit more and create that nice equal gapping throughout the bag is just so important. We also retain height. We can see the launch there being nice and high, 18 on average with that GT1 9 wood. It really does launch really, really well and spinning at 5,000. So, I mean, that's not a million miles off. It's basically the same as the 7 iron in the ZXi 5, you know, in terms of launch and spin. But the ball speed was up. So that means we're going to obviously spread out from a carry perspective, but gain more height. More ball speed will get more height. So more ball speed, more launch, more spin. We retain the peak, we retain the descent. It's spinning nicely, so we're going to get less curvature on off-center hits. We're going to get more forgiveness for sure on off-center hits in a wood design than an iron. Like, there's just not really any negatives, to be honest. Like, so many more people should be looking at high lofted fairways and hybrids than long irons. It's a no-brainer. From a peak height and a land angle perspective, the hybrid was 70 feet, 40.3 descent, so not bad, sort of maintaining around a similar peak height to the 7 iron, which is good. We want to sort of try and maintain that peak height if we can throughout the bag, but descent angle 40.3 is, again, it's okay, but it's not amazing, whereas the 9 wood jumps up to 79 peak in the air, 43.1 descent. So we're actually gaining height and we're gaining land angle from the 7 iron, even though it's that next club up, it's flying that extra sort of 10, 15 yards, but we've actually gained height and descent. And this is really where the high lofted fairway woods, especially that GT1, can really come into their own. More launch, more spin, more ball speed, better gapping, better control into greens, bit more spin to create more stability on the ball flight. Like, they really can be a game changer for this sort of player. So if you are this sort of player and you haven't looked at them, definitely go and take a look. And then actually from a fitting perspective, the next thing I would probably do is jump up to driver. We're not going to go down that route in today's video. Maybe we can do it in a different video if you would like us to. Let us know in the comments below. I would jump up to driver and I would see what the ceiling is. And I would go, right, that's there. What's the most distance that we can get for you hitting a club off the deck? Because obviously that's a very important club for this sort of player. How far can we get you hitting it off the floor with a reasonably functional ball flight? And then we've got that. We've got your 9-wood, let's say. Now let's see what we need in between and just gap it correctly. So let's recap. Don't get sucked in by the marketing. Really strong lofted distance irons rarely are a benefit for that many players, especially players at slower swing speeds. Creates a worse ball flight, less forgiveness, worse dispersion, worse gapping throughout the bag. It rarely is a benefit. Getting clubs sitting in the correct window for you is the key. I know some people want to hit it further, but the reality is if you swing at X, you should hit your 7-iron X. And if you want to hit it any further than that, really working on strength, mobility, swing speed, that is the best way of going about gaining distance. As always, we recommend getting fitted properly with someone such as ourselves, independent specialists that are really there to help you and guide you through the process and make sure your bag is set up and optimized for you. Speed is only one small part of the equation. How you deliver the club is more important than speed. You know, if you take off more loft, you might add more loft. So this is kind of an example. It's one that we do see play out a lot, but if you want to make sure that the clubs are 100% suited to you and you're getting the best performance, there's only one way of doing that, and it's getting fitted. But as always, we hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know what your takeaway is in the comments below. Don't go chasing distance. As always, get fit properly to make sure your clubs are optimized for you. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below and I'll get back to you. If you enjoyed the video, please do subscribe. We're trying to get to 50K as soon as we can. And when we do, there will be a big giveaway coming. So stay tuned for that. As always, thank you all for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.